Hello and welcome to the Video Lab podcast. My name is Sam and I'm here with my good friend AJ.
Hey there.
Together we review movies, TV shows, and streaming content.
Today on the podcast we have one of my first college roommates, Lucas Werner. And then you say hi, Luke.
Oh, hey. Hello. That's me.
I thought you were about to say one of my first college loves, Lucas.
We had an intense romance in college.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
What is it you want, Barry? You want the moon?
I want the truth!
I see dead people.
You shall not pass!
You'll shoot your eye out, kid.
This is Sparta!
I am your father.
Let us fight to free the world, to do away with greed, with hate and intolerance. Let us all unite!
Armed with only one word, Tenet, and fighting for the survival of the entire world, a protagonist journeys through a twilight world of international espionage on a mission that will unfold in something beyond real time. AJ, just make sure you stay close to the mic because I know you like to drift away from that.
Yep, I'm here. I'm drifted near it.
You know what else was going to become drifted? Us, after having to review this freaking movie.
Hey.
Drift into the epiphany of time travel, which I guess this movie's about. Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where to fucking begin?
So are we just diving right in? Is this?
We're diving right in.
I'll challenge you guys I'll give you 2 or 3 sentences. Try to summarize the plot of this damn movie.
Oh, that's funny. Trying.
There's so much at play in the movie. Like, it's like time travel to save the whole world, like all of existence, I guess. Like, it's such a grandiose plot that how would you ever summarize it, regardless of the time travel bit, which just makes it even more confusing.
This is by far the most convoluted film I've ever watched in my life. Just from start to finish, I'm like, what the fuck is happening? Like,
you know how bad this is? I think I hate this movie. Like, I hate it. And I dislike it more than the Anastasia movie. We reviewed this really crappy movie called Anastasia with real people, Lucas, not the comic one.
Not the animated?
No, not the animated one. This is one that has that takes place partly in Madison, Wisconsin. So
what?
Yeah, it's
that checks out with history, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it's trolley bad. Anastasia travels through time to Madison, Wisconsin in the 80s, and then Rasputin is like hunting her down.
I would argue that the time travel in that movie was way better than this movie.
I mean, it makes more sense.
When you guys finished the movie, did you go look up stuff and like try to understand it?
Oh, you have to.
I like watched probably a good hour's worth of like different YouTube videos, like trying to understand like the plot and stuff like that. And, you know, with graphics explaining, okay, here's where they're going forward in time. And then here's where they loop back. Oh no. And now Neil is going forward, but then he switches back while everyone else is going forward. And it's like, what?
Yeah.
I just didn't understand. Like from the very beginning, they set up this thing with the bullet when he gets to the lab with the lady and they're talking about the entropy of this bullet.
Check the magazine.
How?
One of these bullets is like us, traveling forwards through time. The other one's going backwards. It's inverted. Its entropy runs backwards, so to our eyes, its movement is reversed.
The way they did that there made no sense for the rest of the movie. Because, like, the rest of the movie, he, like, fights himself in reverse time. But he had to do all the stuff in reverse to make it happen in real time for the other thing. But when he's in the lab, he just, like, sucks the bullet up to his hand with no other reverse effect to making that happen.
AJ.
So, like,
right. Yeah, no, that's when you think back on it, stuff like that is really frustrating because it just it doesn't make sense with these reverse bullets. Like there's like what he's in a firing range, like sucking them in. That makes no sense at all.
I'll tell you for 3/4 of the movie, I don't think I could tell you anybody's name.
Well, nobody has names. It's all like super heady, and they're all the protagonist or the well-dressed man, or
Other than Neil, yeah.
in like Cat and Max, I guess.
You know what it is? What I got towards the end of it, I was like, oh, this is what he was going for. It's a mix of Inception with Mission Impossible, and you get Neil in this movie.
So all of Christopher Nolan's films are just like obsessed with time, space, physics, the supernatural. This feels like the natural culmination of all of those movies. Like you throw in a little Memento, you throw in some Inception, you throw in some Interstellar, and this is what you get.
Which is why it doesn't work.
Yeah, he always takes something like scientific and then tries to tie it to something like supernatural. It's like even in Interstellar, it's like the science of this world and trying to find a new place to live. And then at the end, it becomes about this like connection of love to get back to his own time. And
that was stupid.
I love that movie up until that point when he's like communing with the aliens to get back to his daughter. And it's like, what?
Yeah, Tom is just a square. I mean, yeah, Interstellar is a dope movie, but that ending makes like no sense.
That's a whole other conversation we'll have to have.
But I think it's like a good comparison to this film, because at least in Interstellar, you get, even though it's a nonsense explanation, it like connects to a logical point. You're like, okay,
that's true. Yes.
This, from start to finish, it is so, like critical plot elements are left out of this entire thing. I've read 3 long articles on this movie, and did you guys know that the future in this movie, the future is waging war against the past because of like climate change?
What?
Yeah.
That is explained in a dialogue sequence. So also, I just got a gripe on something here. One thing I hate about Nolan movies is that the audio mix is so miserable.
Yes.
You have to watch every Nolan movie with subtitles on. I started this movie. I got 5 minutes in. I was like, all right, I have to watch it with subtitles, I guess. A lot of that stuff I don't think I would have got if I hadn't had subtitles on.
The structure of the vaults is based on the pendulum. Each vault a separate structure within the others. Damage to one structure won't compromise the other.
Inner doors revert to factory settings. Unpickable locks. It's child's play, really.
Child's play. They're inside airport security. They have to worry about climate control, not on grade.
So how do we get enough firepower through the perimeter to trigger the lockdown procedure?
My wife, Jess, will tell you, like, as I'm watching this and she walks in on me, I'm just constantly yelling at the TV. I'm like, what the fuck? What the fuck are they saying? What the fuck is happening? Because I can't tell you. I think this may be the worst film I've ever seen audio mixing wise in terms of dialogue.
Well, it's what's funny is he does it intentionally. That's the funny part. This is how he does all of his movies.
Batman, Inception, I could tell what they're saying more in those compared to this, couldn't you?
Yeah. Well, those are different. Like I guess like a more like Interstellar and Dunkirk are his more recent films, and that's where.
But take this though, even Interstellar, like it has the big like Hans Zimmer boom booms happening in the score. This has elements of that, but it's happening like over important dialogue. It's like, oh yes, the time travel.
The other thing about all the dialogue in this, it's all like prose. It's like it seems very poetic, and it's all like spoken in like super hushed tones and
like code. And the exposition here is terrible. Like, yeah, if you miss a single couple words, like you're totally out. Like I had no idea this, like the future was waging war against the past for climate change.
Yeah, I can't remember. That is like a throwaway line somewhere. I can't remember who says it. And they don't outright say that. They do. They talk about like there's like rising tides in the future that, yeah.
Yeah. And the Russian guy in this film is being paid by the future to wage that war.
What?
Yeah, they send him all that gold. Yeah,
the gold is being sent from the future.
I was completely lost where gold, like why is there gold on an airplane?
I know. It's like, what?
I think one thing I really hated about this movie was that there is no reason for me to care about any of the characters, and I don't understand John David Washington's motivation for a lot of it. Especially at the end, it's like, okay, at one point in the movie, he says that he would take a child hostage if he needed to. And the next thing he's doing is he's like sacrificing the entire mission to save Kat.
Why does he care about that lady?
That's what I'm saying. Like, you did not establish any reason other than like, okay, you vaguely hint that they have some sort of romantic connection the first time they meet, but like, that's not enough.
Right. Yeah, he does kind of throw away everything for her. It's just a very like implied romance,
I mean, why even have her in this whole movie? You remove her and her stupid son from this whole thing, I think it would have made the movie way better.
I don't know how far you guys went, but the next the next level when you go down is that there's a theory that Max is Neil.
Oh my fucking God.
Yeah. That Max eventually grows up and then has to invert time like back 10 years.
The little white kid becomes the black guy?
No.
No. Neil is Robert Pattinson.
God damn it. Fuck this movie.
Yeah, so the theory is, and apparently they debunked this theory somewhere on the Tenet Reddit. I wasn't about to go searching for
There's
that.
a whole Reddit for it.
Oh yeah, I've seen some of the Reddit stuff, and I mean, there's like people really into like puzzling out this movie, and I don't even think you can successfully do it all. Like I can see some things, but other things are just pure theory. Like there's no all the physical interdimensional elements of this movie are pretty much nonsense. They just make no sense.
My other big problem with the movie is that they don't believe that changing the past they think everything is predestined. So
they
operate
the point
under
of any of
so
it?
there's no point of the whole movie. Like
right.
The result is what it will be, according to their logic of time. Like I guess we're there along the ride to see the events unfold. But there's no stakes for the movie itself because the movie's going to resolve the way it resolves no matter what, or the timeline is.
It takes away like any tension ultimately if you can even understand or comprehend that fact.
I guess that they do kind of address that a little bit because there is a part in the movie where they talk about the like people from the future waging war on them, not believing in that fact. And the people from the future believe that they can send something back and change their own future. But it's too thin for me.
She devises a method for inverting the world, but becomes convinced that by destroying us, they're destroying themselves.
The grandfather paradox.
But unlike Oppenheimer, she rebels, splitting the algorithm into 9 sections and hiding them the best place she can think of.
The past. Here, now.
There are 9 nuclear bombs, 9 bombs, 9 sets of the most closely guarded materials in the history of the world. The best hiding place possible.
Nuclear containment facilities.
Sato's lifelong mission, financed and guided by the future, has been to find and reassemble the algorithm.
Why did they choose him?
Because he was at the right place at the right time.
The collapse of the Soviet Union.
The most insecure moment in the history of nuclear weapons.
I think there was some dialogue hinting to this, like where, they're talking about paradoxes and stuff for this. And I think the whole bit was like, they don't really know if no one understands all this stuff, but they're going to fucking try it. That's like the gist of this.
There's the log line for the movie.
Yeah, it really is. There was one point in the beginning when that gal was showing protagonist, the thing with the bullets, and he was like trying to comprehend all this shit. And she's like, don't think about it, feel it or something,
Okay. I wrote that down because later on there's another line where I forget who says it, but it was like, try to keep up, with all the stuff going on. And I wondered, was this almost Nolan like directing himself through the movie, like to the viewers saying like, yeah, I know a lot of stuff's going on that's crazy, but just go along with it. Like, don't try too hard to think about it.
You have to. And I mean, it reminded me of, I don't know if you guys saw the movie Looper, but the movie Looper did this at one point too, where like they were really, it's a weird time traveling mechanic they had in there. And so they basically had Bruce Willis say like, it doesn't fucking matter, man. Just like go with it. and
at least that's cool though.
Yeah, no, it works a lot better than this, but that's what this movie does is they're just like, look, don't think about this too hard. Just fucking go with it. It'll be cool. There'll be some explosions and some neat reverse fighting.
Yeah. I don't understand how you have a fist fight with someone removing reverse through time. How do you...
Yeah, I don't understand that either.
How do you hit that? I just don't even understand how you would physically engage with someone experiencing time that way.
I liked the reverse stuff because I hadn't seen that before, special effect wise in a film. But then I imagined, what do you think it must have been like on set filming some of that stuff? Because they had to like, for sure some of it was like CG and green screen replaced and reverse played. But I'm sure some of it was also done like, real time, but just in reverse. So just trying to see like the guy flailing around in the black suit on the floor, like must have looked insane.
So funny thing I learned about the movie is that Stadar, is that who it was? The Russian guy, the Ukrainian guy?
Yep, that's him.
In that scene where he has to like speak in reverse when they're on the other side of that window, he actually had to speak all that Russian in reverse.
What? So
he had like huge note cards with it all written out phonetically.
Oh my God.
And then he had to also do it with a Russian accent. So
wow.
I do props to him on that one. I thought that was pretty impressive. I thought his Russian accent was a little uninspired generally, but
yeah, it's an easy one to be lazy with. They're just like, yeah, hey, I am Russian.
The fact that you guys did so much research outside of watching this movie, I applaud you, because I was so angry. I couldn't even bear thinking of researching this movie.
So you just did nothing.
Well, here's my problem. I came in thinking I'm going to not like this movie and the other guys are going to like this movie. And my reason for not liking it's going to end up being that I'm stupid. So like I have to try and understand this movie so I have a better reason for not liking it other than not understanding the plot.
I know.
But
yeah.
I feel very vindicated to hear that you guys also thought the plot was absurd.
It's completely absurd. And I feel like it's almost a big troll where like if you go online and people that have like parsed through this every granular inch are going to be like, you didn't get it. Like, are you dumb? And so like that's the bit is like you have to watch this movie minimum 3 to 4 times. And even then I'm not convinced that this really fully makes sense.
I'll tell you that Jess, my wife, also didn't like it because in one certain scene, I don't know, halfway through or 3/4 of the way through, it sounded like there was a crying baby in the music, and we thought it was Natalie getting up.
Oh,
so
funny.
That upset
her. Okay, so one other like huge issue I had was that whole like Normandy beach fight scene. The whole time I'm watching that scene, I'm like, who are they shooting at? I don't feel like I ever saw an enemy other than one time they pointed out a guy in a tower and they immediately just blew him to bits with the RPG. Other than that, I never saw another enemy except for the guy trying to drop the staff or Ra into the fucking...
They're the hardcore Republicans in the future who hate climate change.
Or you mean who like climate change?
Or, I don't know, like it, hate it, don't believe in it, something.
Because, yeah, I was really confused. There's just a bunch of people, like, shooting at shit, but you don't see anyone. There's, like, a bunch of really, like, set-piece-looking buildings. I will be real. It looked cool as shit, but it just was absolute nonsense. Like, absolute nonsense. Like, the reverse explosions and stuff.
Yeah. I liked like pretty much all the action, and like I love the way that Nolan shoots certain things.
Yeah.
Like there's still like a lot of cool shit in this movie, even if the plot itself doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But like the fight scene with John David Washington and himself going through time the other way, I thought that was really cool choreography and stuff. It didn't make sense to me.
Yes, that's how I think you really need to go about this in order to remotely enjoy it, is not thinking about it, which is it's an absurd request, but because it looks cool, but you just can't think about it because you're like, wait, how is he doing this? What's going on?
Take him out now!
All the practical effects and the explosions on the beach that Lucas was talking about, and the fight scenes, and even the car chase scenes, those all look awesome. So he knows how to like film action. It's just he becomes weakened by these over convoluted plots sometimes.
Oh, I mean, I think he mostly gets away with it in his other films, but this is where I think this is really the limits of this level of abstract thinking that he's doing. This is too much.
I mean, all of his films, I think he tries to get people who watch them, to think about them and have a conversation afterwards, and even do like what you guys did and research them to a degree. But this is like, it's fucking homework, man. And it's not enjoyable. Whereas the other ones are, I would say, a lot more enjoyable to talk about.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. Yeah. I also, real quick about how they were doing that like temporal pincer thing.
Oh God!
Like
no, I don't.
Okay, ignore all the like the logistical concerns. I was so confused at how they possibly could coordinate that.
Dude, they have watches. They have watches, man.
But like, okay, so that army, that like squad is from the future.
Yeah, it's like an hour ahead.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, ignoring all that part, what is this Russian dude's plan with this? I was very confused by this algorithm thing. Like,
hold on. Before we go to that, I do want to touch on that, though. I think that was one thing I could definitely applaud Nolan / the producers for, is having to organize the shoots and like shot scenes based on like all the action, like keeping track of all the time going forward and backward. And
oh yeah, it must have been a fucking nightmare in production.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Also, I don't think this film would have been greenlit by anyone. Like had anyone else brought this film to a studio, they would have been like, get the fuck out of here.
Well, it's funny because I did see a little bit before we even reviewed this or decided we want to review this, some scenes of the cast trying to explain the plot of this movie in interviews. And it's like, I don't know, it's like cringeworthy to watch. It's pretty bad.
Yeah, I think the best thing you can do is be like, time travel to save the world.
Yeah.
Like, that's like the most concise, and that's not even really right. That's not correct.
Yeah. So getting to what you're saying about what the Russian guy wants to do.
Yeah, I was confused about this. So like, I think what I read is that he's trying to blow up like a pit so that this algorithm thing is buried so that people in the future can get it and destroy the world.
Yes. Well, he's trying to get all the 9 pieces of the algorithm and then put it together, bury it in this pit to send it to the future.
Okay.
What algorithm are you talking about?
Well, you didn't get this part, Sam.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Oh jeez.
What is it? This scientist created an algorithm for inverting all of time, but then they talk about it as like an Oppenheimer thing where like she understands that it's way too powerful and people will use it for bad. So she makes this algorithm into like a physical entity and then splits it up and kills herself so that no one knows of the location.
Yeah.
Was that the scientist that the black dude was talking to?
No. This is a scientist in the future that we've never seen.
They do like, there is some theorizing that scientist at the beginning of the movie is also this woman.
Oh, funny. Okay.
I can't speak to that because I did go too deep down that rabbit hole, but I did see that as a possible theory. But yeah, that's the general gist. It's he's trying to assemble all the pieces and then send them forward in time. And he's going to signal that the mission was carried out completely by killing himself.
What?
So they'll know that he successfully did it if they go back and look at that. On this day, did this billionaire die?
Uh-huh.
Oh, God.
Yeah. I really do admire Christopher Nolan, and I admire this movie just because it's so zany and like out there. Like you kind of got to admire his moxie. And like no one else would try this. And so I think it's a lot of interesting ideas. It's just borderline incoherent. And it really affects no casual fan of movies would enjoy this movie. You have to be a diehard, like either Christopher Nolan fan or like some sort of film geek where you're like, yeah, on your 7th viewing, you can find out this thing, like this movie. I feel like movies should not be made that you literally have to watch it multiple times to understand it. Like it's fine if it's like complex where like, upon a second viewing, you understand more, but it shouldn't be like an absolute requisite. And it isn't. It is an absolute requisite that you have to watch this movie at least 2 or 3 times for it to matter. And I think that's the point is with the forward and back shit, this movie only makes sense at the end retroactively. And so it's only seeing the end that you can see the beginning and be like, oh, okay, well, this is what they're doing.
You could not pay me enough to watch this movie a second time.
I mean,
give me all the gold bars on the airplane. Nope, not doing it.
What sucks about it though is that I really like at the very end they give you that there's this relationship between Neil and the protagonist, and then it's just like yanked out from underneath you, and it's like, man, would have been cool if we got some more of that earlier in the movie. But
that was by far the coolest scene. It's just like them like reeling it up there. Like Neil's like, yeah, we know each other really well, and like you recruited me. I thought that was fucking dope.
I thought that was really awesome when they were like, when and you start to realize, oh, that's why he knows why he doesn't drink on the job and why he likes Coke better than soda. And
hey, you never did tell me who recruited you, Neil.
Haven't you guessed by now? You did. Only not when you thought. You have a future in the past. Years ago for me, years from now for you.
You've known me for years.
For me, I think this is the end of a beautiful friendship.
But for me, it's just the beginning.
We get up to some stuff. You're gonna love it. You'll see. This whole operation's a temporal pincer. Whose? Yours! You're only halfway there. I'll see you at the beginning, friend.
There's some really cool dialogue in the movie that like is then like serviced by that moment, but that moment comes like at the very end in the last 3 minutes. It's
Right.
like, and that's all you get of it.
Yeah, and it's so no one's brain works like this, where you'd like see all that at the end and be like, ah, yes, now all these things I've written down and didn't understand now make sense. Like it just, yeah, it's too abstract, and films should not be made like this.
No, yeah,
So
I
Christopher
agree.
Nolan, if you heard AJ, please stop.
Yeah, it's I admire this is I think he was just trying to figure out where the studios would stop him, you know, if they would.
He's trying to find the line. How far can I push these people?
Yeah, like let's fucking go out there. And this is
what will they let me do?
Yeah, I mean, this is really, really out there. And I think this is where he's like, okay, now I've had enough and I can reel it back and start doing things that make sense.
No.
again.
They let him get away with this one, so he has to keep going now.
You're right.
Where's the line?
You're right. He's got to find it.
The next movie is just going to be like an apple that rotates for an hour.
Well, and you know, this movie's 2.5 hours too, and that's kind of unconscionable.
Oh God, they said this was the shortest film. It felt like 5 days.
All things considered, I felt like there was enough action that and maybe it was because my brain was so tied up for such like large portions of the movie, like trying to figure out what was going on. But like I felt like even though it was 2.5 hours, I felt like it went by pretty quick.
Sure, I think that's fair and reasonable. It just seems like
no, you guys are both wrong. No, I had to watch this in 3 separate viewings because I hated it so much.
Well, yeah, that's the thing is like for a film in which the common understanding is that no one will understand this from start to finish. 2.5 hours is kind of like mean.
Yeah.
Just like,
if your expectation is that someone is going to commit another 2.5 hours to it.
Yeah.
Okay. If you guys love this film so much, let me pose a question to you. What is the secret organization that the black guy is part of?
Oh, I'm glad you asked, Sam, because I've read a lot about this.
What is it or what?
Okay. Well, let me ask you this then. Yes. What is it? What does it do? Where is it? Would you know what it is without researching?
No, you would not.
Oh, probably not. No,
it's impossible.
Boom. Mic drop, bitches. Woo.
No, and that's the point is like you can't understand it on a single viewing. But Tenet...
Serious though, like seriously, what is it? I have no idea.
So it's this organization that the protagonist in the future founds to save all of existence because he knows...
Does he found it?
Yes, he is the founder.
Okay.
And so he's like going he's like reaching back and like making all this work. Like another interesting thing I read is that, you know, when he's like put in the windmill for like no reason, apparently he's put deliberately in that windmill for an undetermined period of time so that his future self can get back in the past and like meddle around without coming into contact with his past self.
God, dude, you are giving me a migraine.
But where does that come from though? Where did they extract that is going on?
That I don't know. I don't know. I part of the problem is I don't know if the things I'm reading are like someone going line by line. Yeah, or if it's just someone be like, "Oh yeah, you know what I think." Yeah, if it's just like fanfic, like, "Oh no, that's why he was doing XYZ because of this shit that was never referenced."
Sorry, can we just talk about something real quick? Did they not just pull a bunch of his teeth out at the beginning of the movie just to test him?
Oh yeah, they did.
If someone did that to you, what you mean? I'm not fucking helping you.
Yeah, that was pretty fucking mean.
That was such I think, a lame way of what we were arguing before. Like, why is he helping save the world or do all this? And he's just like, that's what I do.
Yeah, you know,
I'm
it's
the protagonist.
You know what's stupid too is like he's like that mean because he founded the organization. That means he's testing himself.
Yeah. Oh man, the problems with time travel.
Oh, dude, how depressing must it be for him after like the beach at the end, because he knows pretty much everything is written in stone now and you can't really change anything.
Yeah, you know, I kind of actually think this idea with time and that like just things are static and like what happens is kind of interesting, but it completely depresses the stakes for the film, and like you need kind of climax scenes, and they kind of contrive it a little bit, but like as an abstract mechanic, I mean, we've been touching on it constantly, just like what the hell is the point if the past is the past and you can't change it? Like maybe, I don't know, maybe you can shift the Overton window on the past. It's all so damn theoretical that it just kind of, it's unexplainable.
Even Robert Pattinson, like, he like talks at one point about like, well, it depends on whether you believe on this one time theory or this other time theory. And it's like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
so which one do we believe?
Right. Yeah. There's no static understanding of this film. It's impossible.
So despite the audio, and this is getting a little off topic from where we were, despite the audio mixing of the movie being miserable, I love the score of this movie.
Oh yeah, it's dope. I was listening to it earlier.
You know who did it?
It's Ludwig Göransson.
Do you know what else Ludwig Göransson is known for?
I saw at the bottom of Spotify that it's The Mandalorian.
It's The Mandalorian, but he's Childish Gambino's like go-to producer.
No shit, really?
He produced This Is America.
Oh,
cool. And he produced a bunch of other albums, or at least two I know of. Other albums for
Childish Gambino. Oh, that's cool. That's neat.
Did you like it, AJ?
Oh, did I like what?
The score?
Yeah, I thought it. I mean, I was listening to it while I was writing up some stuff, and I think it's really fucking cool. The problem is it's like it really overwhelms a lot of the understanding of like dialogue and stuff.
Also, how have we gotten this far into this conversation without bringing up Michael Caine's appearance in this movie? Like,
oh yeah, his bizarre experience.
Does Michael Caine owe money to Christopher Nolan or something, or why does he keep showing up in all these movies?
I heard they have some arrangement and he has to be in there. It feels like just every Christopher Nolan film until he dies. It's funny because in each of Nolan's subsequent films, he's getting less and less airtime. Like, I mean, you go from Dark Knight where he's all over to, this one where he's in there for a 3-minute scene.
Ugh, I didn't like him in this. I think he was probably the worst person to talk. All I heard was, that's what I eat down by the river.
Not the one Sato grew up in. Stalsky 12. In the 70s, you had a population of about 200,000, thought to be abandoned.
Abandoned?
Some kind of accident. After which it was used for underground tests. 2 weeks ago, the same day as the Kiev Opera siege, we spotted a detonation in northern Siberia, just where Stalts 12 was.
I mean, that's part of the problem with just the sound mixing in general is the dialogue, and his British accent is not the easiest to understand in that circumstance.
Deep Cockney British accent.
Yeah, Cockney.
He looks like, who's that senator or like the Republican leader?
Mitch McConnell?
Oh, he does look a little like Mitch McConnell. Not quite as turtly, but...
Yeah, he's like his cousin or something. That's kind of what it looks like. That's funny. I'm proud of you for connecting real world events.
Yeah, extra credit on my exam.
Yeah, extra credit for sure.
Well, do you guys want to take a crack at what you thought the budget was for this and what it brought in box office wise?
Go ahead, Luke.
I think I roughly know. It was something ridiculous. It was like 40 million.
This came out at a weird COVID, or was it right before COVID?
It was right in the middle of COVID. It was supposed to be out last summer, and it did come. Oh wait, it was supposed to be out last spring, I think, and then it got delayed to the summer. And
it did have a very limited theater release.
Limited theater release, and then finally direct release this past December.
So guess budget first, and then guess box office.
I would guess. I don't know. I'd guess higher than 40 million.
I think they lost 100 million on it. So
damn. I'd guess at least a $80 million budget, and it brought in 20 million. That's my hot take.
Okay, Lucas.
I would stick with my like 40 million, and then a budget of like 120 million or something like that.
So are you saying it lost money then?
It definitely lost money.
So how does that count for box office stuff?
Your box office is your.
Oh, I suppose your
revenue.
Revenue, yeah. Okay, fair enough.
So you both failed. The budget was $200 million.
Oh, that's so expensive.
And the box office was $363.1 million.
Oh, okay.
Wow, they netted positive?
So they did make 100 million.
That's what it says on the Google.
All right, good for them. I'm proud of Nolan. He definitely deserves it. I feel like he got ripped off because Nolan's films are best in theaters with like this. I think the dialogue would have been a little easier to understand if we had like a true theater experience.
Very debatable.
I mean, it is debatable, but I think it's just his films are better in the theater.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely he films on like super wide angle lenses and stuff like that because he like designs a lot of his movies for these cinematic shots that are meant to be seen in IMAX. Like, so apparently, if you saw Star Wars Episode 9 in IMAX, you saw 5 minutes of this movie.
What?
Before Star Wars started.
Like as a promo or what?
As like so all the apparently, if you saw it in IMAX, all the trailers showed as normal. Then you saw that opening opera clip, that 5 minutes, and then Star Wars started.
Weird. Holy shit. Huh.
It is interesting because out of Inception, Interstellar, and The Dark Knight, this is the highest budget because Inception was 160 million, Interstellar 165, and Dark Knight 180. And then out of all the like box office returns, this is the lowest. Obviously, COVID probably didn't help, but Inception was 836 million, Interstellar 701, and this is only 363. So
yeah, it's pretty lackluster. I mean, it's totally not his fault or any of the studio's fault.
Again, easy. I would say, a little bit his fault. The movie kind of sucks, but
no, I mean, just like COVID depressed movie theater turnout.
Yeah, totally. But also kind of
it kind of just sucks. Yeah, it's. I have a feeling it would have probably been a middling. I don't know, like movies can really suck and gross a shit ton, especially if it's a big theater blockbuster. Like, think of how fucking well the Transformers movies do.
Oh, this movie would have made a ton of money if it had a normal theater year because people would have, like, A, you wouldn't have known it sucks because B, if you ever watched the trailer for this movie, it told you nothing about the movie.
Yep.
The trailer for this movie told you that John David Washington and Robert Pattinson were in it, and that was as much information as you got about the movie.
I mean, they could have tried to explain the whole movie in the trailer, and you still
nothing could tell you that this movie was bad other than seeing it, and people are going to see it because Christopher Nolan made it. So
yeah, he put this out on his own brand. Like, this could not have been released early in his career.
Just save the world. Can't leave anything to chance.
But can we change things if we do it differently?
What's happened's happened. Which is an expression of faith in the mechanics of the world. It's not an excuse to do nothing.
Fate?
Call it what you want.
What do you call it?
Reality.
Well, you guys, let's say out of 10 reverse entropy bullets, how many reverse entropy bullets would you give it, and would you recommend it to other people to watch?
So I would peg this at about like a C level, so like a 7.3. What do you fucking call them?
Reverse entropy
bullet. There was another word they used, inverted bullets. Yeah, so I'd give it about 7.3 inverted bullets because it's I don't know, if a movie is magnificent but it's borderline incoherent within a single viewing, is it really all that great? And yeah, so I think it just falls a bit short of where I expect Nolan's films to land.
Yeah, I think I'm probably in about the same range as AJ, probably in like a 6.5 to 7.5 range, probably for me specifically, right around a 7. I think if you're like really into like cool cinematography and a cool score, you might move this up a little higher just because it still has all those like super Nolan, like high fidelity things. But if you're just trying to watch a movie and enjoy the plot and like the characters, this ain't going to be a movie for you. So yeah, for a general audience, this is like a 7.
For a general audience, this is almost unwatchable.
Well, get ready, boys. I'm about to freaking drop a bomb because I would give this 4.5 inverted bullets out of 10. This movie sucks ass. The characters don't make sense. You can't understand the plot or their dialogue. The score, I'm also not impressed, even though you guys seem to like it for some reason. The cinematography is the only saving grace in this thing, and everything else about it sucks ass. I hate it.
It did seem like you were trending that direction based on our earlier conversation. Yeah.
Who would have guessed?
How did you tell?
Yeah, it would have been funny if you're like, yeah, I'll give it an 8.
It has it has a 7.5 out of IMDb and a 76 audience score and 70% tomato fresh.
Yeah, 70% on tomatoes surprised me. That's surprisingly generous, I feel like.
Yeah. I just feel like Nolan was trying to reach for the stars with this one and got way too convoluted and tried to make it something that would just it goes away from the basics of storytelling. Like, you just got to simplify it a little bit, man, and get your fucking dialogue cleaned up.
I actually feel like 70 is low for a critic score for this type of movie, because, dude, I always feel like critics are so out of line in their like representation of movies with the general audience. Like, the fact that the general audience liked this movie better than the critics did is actually wild to me.
Yeah, I am amazed by that. That's over 5,000 verified ratings.
Yeah, and critics do love the really abstract shit too.
Super heady shit.
Yeah,
like
they're like,
nobody can
yeah.
understand. They want you to know how fucking smart they are.
Right. I understand this movie. That's why I rated it positive.
AJ, do you want to ask Lucas here?
I do. Luke, you might not. I forgot to give you a heads up on this, but I've been asking guests if they have watched anything recently, whether it be a movie or TV show that they would recommend to the audience.
Ooh, that I would recommend to the audience. I'm not. So
it's the opposite. What would you not recommend?
What I would not recommend is, unless you're a super big comic fan, don't watch the Snyder Cut.
Oh, yeah.
What I would recommend giving a shot is, and I'm only one episode deep on it, but Invincible, the animated series on Amazon Prime that follows Robert Kirkman's Invincible comic line. It has a very, how do I say, like maybe The Boys feel take on superheroes in a darker world where power can change how people react to things and stuff like that. So.
Well, Luke, thanks for joining us. We have appreciated having you on the podcast.
Thanks for having me. It was a good time.
All right. And then you want me to ask you, Sam?
Yeah.
Samuel.
I gotta remember what it was called. Hold on 1 sec. I do have it picked out, just so you know.
We switch off picking movies each week, and Sam always picks his at the absolute last minute.
I did pick it like right before the podcast, but it's all right.
Are you ready for me to ask you?
I've never been more ready. Some might say I'm invertedly ready.
See, that doesn't make sense, though.
Yeah, no, that doesn't check out.
Fair enough. Samuel, what movie are we watching next week? That makes sense.
AJ, we're going to be watching a groundbreaking new film that I just found on Netflix with Eric Andre called Bad Trip.
Interesting.
That should be an interesting comedy.
You know what's funny is that's at the bottom of I think that's also scored. Oh yeah, it is. It's scored by Ludwig Göransson.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, he wrote the score for that.
If I can't understand their dialogue again, I swear to God.
No,
that's a Nolan problem.
That is a Nolan thing. Nolan's like, let's just turn up
Ludwig Göransson for that.
No, I'm sure he's a charming and wonderful composer, and he does a great job.
As always, thank you everybody for listening to the Video Lab podcast. If you'd like to be a guest on our podcast, be sure to email us at thevideolabpodcast@gmail.com.
You can find my review for this movie and other movies at my blog, asajthinks.com. And be sure to rate and subscribe to the podcast wherever you are listening.
Until next time, see ya. Peace.
Last time I wrecked it, last time I whipped around, last time I did the whippets, last time I lived reverse, point a brown, hit the reverend, last time I hit your crib, last time it went no tickets. I done went back in myself, felt like hell, fuck I risked it, pace yourself, how you living, know you thrilling, office in it, how I got my stripes and pendants, backing out in the street, born this wild, let it be, rages out, gotta eat, now the vibe brought away with the sound, by the way, kinda down by the days,